Hi guys, it's Alan again. I did one yesterday. It's about about the human experimentation that when you're a targeted individual um, that you go through. Um, we go through um, electronic jolts, like a jolt to your system, or in my case, B2K. And this has been going on to people for years. And what happens is that because they get so much money from taxpayers, our government does, not just in the billions, but in the trillions of dollars. I remember Donald Rumsfeld, the day before 9/11, he was up at the podium giving an interview saying that they're scratching their heads because they can't figure where 2.5 or $3 trillion just suddenly vanished. And that's what he just admitted to: 2.5 to $3 trillion. I mean, they always short pedal it, even though they're always like, "Well, this we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money for this to take care of this. Everybody has to tighten their belt when it comes to loaning money or giving money. Then everybody has to tighten their belt." Um, but then he says there's 2.5, 3 trillion, and we always known even before that our government gives more money than any other of the seven other most uh, nations combined. Um, we give an insane, and that's why all those nations want to have us as an ally because we'll go in and protect them. That was one of President Trump's complaints about Montenegro and these smaller countries was that why does NATO have one of these small countries and somebody can start shit with a small country, or a small country can start shit, and then suddenly these bigger countries have to bring in their troops to defend what somebody from another country or a smaller country has started. And whether it's Iraq and Kuwait, why do we have to lose lives and money, treasure for what somebody else has done? And that's whether people like it or don't like it. That's an honest criticism that people have. But anyway, a lot of it in the United States is a lot of our money is obviously being used for military and research. And there's a whole history of people in the United States, researchers, using children, orphans, grown ups, prisoners, as research material, just numbers, statistics, to see what radiation or to see what medication is used, whether it's a brand new medication that hasn't passed the Food and Drug Administration's test trials, two or three testing trials, and but they don't want to pay anybody, so they'll, sometimes they will, or give them some money for uh, immigrants or just anybody. Plasma, they'll give them. That's another subject. Plasma. I shouldn't throw that in there, but there used to be, in I believe in the 40s, the radiation where they're giving radiation inside Quaker oatmeal, and they said, "Yeah, please use our oatmeal," and to kids, a lot of them girls, and just like the radium girls, and they were doing this, and then MK Ultra happened, where they hired prostitutes in California, probably different parts of the state too, and different states, where CIA had actually they had windows, one-way windows, where they could watch Johns perform with prostitutes and slip them drugs. This was MK Ultra under the Church Committee in 1975, 76, something like that. And the thing is, they're still doing this. Now, if you look on the internet, you can look and you can see that they had, in 95, Bill Clinton, to his credit, um, apologized and had a big, thick book. And he said that our country has done evil things to innocent civilians, non consensual, meaning they didn't ask the people for permission, they just did it to them without getting permission or aware or signing papers, none of this. And to see what the effects and the painful effects, torturous effects, to see what, and people are not compensated for this. They aren't compensated. They're not warned. They're not given consent, warned. They're non consensual. They're not warned about what's about to happen. They're not told. There isn't a doctor who comes in and says, now, there have been rights that normally people assume that you're supposed to get medical knowledge and be given a knowledge about what's about to be done. But when it comes to research, this has been sadly uh, not there. People have just been experimented on, almost like something from the movie Saw or Jigsaw, where our own researchers are using people for research and for shits and giggles, as far as we know. I mean, whether it be the NSA or trying out military intelligence. Now, there's a new thing in military intelligence. It's not new like this year type thing, but it is called direct energy weapons. And if you remember in Cuba, our diplomats from the United States went over there and were complaining of pulsating pain and hearing audio, auditory pain, things that would make them give them vertigo, sickness, nausea, um, imbalance, all these. It wasn't like one or two; it was a bunch of them, and a bunch of people, Americans, had the same thing, I guess, in Australia, and some of their own diplomats in Australia and in London, and that's what it is. It's people just trying out their own people um, as guinea pigs and not letting them know. Now, Barack Obama called the president of Guatemala during his administration and apologized and said, yes, we're sorry that we experimented on some of your people. So he got an apology, but it's not like those people got compensated afterwards. It was just, sorry to be you, shit happens. And the biggest, most richest nation in the world to just do this. And it's funny because if you're raised religious, you always hear about the United States being a Christian nation, and normally evangelicals, Catholics, Protestants are very proud of it. It's a Christian nation that evidently loves torturing its own people, not just other people from wars and all that, but us people, many of us people who they used to do it to prisoners, but they do it to some of us who have never hurt anybody, never gotten in trouble. It's not like they found a person who's a serial killer and decide to, okay, well, let's give them some of their own medicine. Let's fuck with them. Let's give them some of what the court's not going to give them. None of that. At least we can understand it'd be illegal, and it shouldn't be, because sometimes people are innocent that the courts have found guilty. You find out later are innocent. But they are doing that to us, some of us who have never hurt anybody. Now, as far as whether we've broken a law, I mean, I think everybody's broken laws that they don't even know that there are laws. Or in my own life, I've never even had a police come up to me personally and said, "Hey, we had a question. We need you to," never in my entire life. I never had a police officer ever say, "Hey, we have a question. You need to do this," or nobody. I always thought they were decent in my own hometown. I think there was one time where one went up to a friend of mine and said that they had a question about something. And I just said, "Well, I appreciate how you asked that. Just let that officer know they were invited to my place to ask me about it. And I appreciate how you handled it. You just came up to me and he had a concern. So I just, he or she didn't come to me personally, but sent somebody else, a landlord. And I figured that was that. That was that. Because never showed up. Never showed up. So I figured that was that. They knew I'd never done anything what they thought, or at least if I did, I gave them an open invitation. So I figured everything was copacetic, but in my entire life, I've never had an officer come up or anybody say, "We're mad at you for this," ever. And I still got put. So a lot of TIs, they look back at their life and think, like me at first, what did I do? Why is this V2K or this people's sounds coming through? Why are people doing phone thing and lifting and taking videos. Hey, Bridget, how are you? I didn't even see you there. I just like, hello, hello. So, but I was just like, people are just, um, why would anybody piss me off? And actually, I actually had the strangest idea. This is going to sound weird, Bridget, but I actually had to try to make sense why people were doing this. I had neighbors that had below. I lived in a duplex, kind of an apartment that was above a garage, and in the garage, I could hear these people saying at 1 or 2 in the morning, "Hello, Bridget," or Birgit. I don't know if it's the right way to pronounce, but Birgit B. But I was telling them like Birgit just how it started for me, and I could hear these a guy and a gal, saying, arguing like, "Why doesn't he come down here? Why doesn't Alan or why doesn't he come down here? He knows we're talking about him." Like they wanted me to go downstairs, even though that part of the garage wasn't my property. It wasn't where I didn't own it, and it was blocked off. So if I did go up there, it's funny. I already have, yeah. Why, you know? So if I went down there and opened the door, I would have been breaking and entering. And I had never heard of V2K. I'd never heard of the targeted individual program. On my computer Wi-Fi, it said FBI surveillance van. And I've heard on like Flow of Wisdom where they've interviewed other targeted individuals. Uh, they had the same thing, the exact same thing, FBI surveillance van, and the same passing, trying stuff out. And my own brother Dale, I was asking him, and he was part of it too. He actually knew, and I didn't know about the target individual program. The only thing I knew is that I spent my life studying, of all things, theology, religion, apologetics, but even then I was quiet about it. I didn't go in chat rooms and write mean things against uh, religious people. I didn't write mean things against atheists or people in different religions or cults or whatever. I just kept it to myself. I didn't go in Republican or Democrat rooms and talk shit about anybody. I just didn't believe in it. And I thought it could come back to haunt somebody if they do that. So I was literally, even online, um, I didn't write shit about anybody. So I never hurt anybody. It sounds, nobody likes a person patting himself on the back. But I just never did. I knew, and I had a sensitive conscience about not hurting people in Dallas, especially where I live. Not authority figures, not doctors, not uh, police, not city hall. I didn't talk shit about people, not religious. I didn't talk shit about anybody, religious, atheists. I literally didn't have any enemies except my own brother because I kept bailing him out everything for years and just giving him money because, he didn't want his family at the time or his wife finding out that, where he was getting money for because he couldn't afford something. And so I had to keep bailing him out. And, but anyway, so I didn't have, so I'm thinking, why is somebody fucking with me? I'd go out for a cigarette in the backyard, and I was quiet about that. I wasn't loud. And then I could hear this snapping of a camera, like a clutter, like, a shutter going, you know, and it just kept going on. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know what it is, but it sounds like a shutter, like a camera. I did not know, is my friend Birgit saying, I did not know about the TI till found on the channel of Dr. Horton on YouTube. Yeah, yeah. And Dr. Horton's kind of, she's got a section on there that's weird. It's hard to understand because she goes on there. She's supposed to do this affidavits to help bring notice to the court system about the TI issue in Europe. And she's been very helpful in helping people be aware of target individuals. And she's one herself, getting hit by directed energy. And she speaks German, English. But then, then we didn't hear for months. So we didn't know how the thing went um, as far as going to the court and the affidavits and, all these affidavits that people sent to her. And So we really don't know. But then she came back after 3 or 4 months of we didn't hear anything. And so now she's back and still speaking on behalf of targeted individuals. And she even interviewed Bill Binney. So that was admirable. That was great. And they're putting together a thing for targeted individuals about all the symptoms and everything. But it's kind of also we don't know, and I hate this part is that sometimes TIs get mad at other people who are TIs. And you might have seen this, Birgit, is that they will start calling other people, well, this person's a real TI or this person's not a real TI because this person did this to me or this person didn't do this for me. Or so we start, saying, well, this person's not real. And don't go down that road. We don't know who's affected in what way. There are TIs that have V2K voice to skull. There are some TIs that don't. They get the shocks. They get other things. They get of all the crazy things. I get this buzzing in my feet and ankles, and I've never had that before this program. They do all these weird things, and then I've always had this for about 30 years. Direct energy things to my side. It's not like in the middle of my chest, like the heart, but it's literally right here, and that's a constant chronic thing of which for 20 years I take like pain medication. And I didn't know what it was, and nobody told me about it. It wasn't until I got V2K. I thought somebody was just fucking with me, and I didn't know it was the government. I wasn't a conspiracy person or anti-government or organ militia. So, and Birgit writes, "Yes, I'm sure that she is a TI, but I don't know if I am." Well, when I found, I just knew that something weird was happening to me. Things that were not just one thing, but a lot of different people doing out of normal behavior, constantly lifting up their phones, trying to get a reaction out of me. I've always felt most people in small towns are pretty nice. If you're nice to them, normally they're pretty nice to you, unless in some weird situation. But this changed in an overnight within a week or so. People at work, and I never heard of job mobbing or nothing like that, and holding up. And they started calling me cop, and that's what was weird too, because my entire life, I never gotten anybody in trouble for anything. Um, I just wasn't around drama. I worked as a CNA, but I never gotten anybody in trouble. If I saw somebody, if I was to ever see somebody hurting a resident, then I would have told. But they were good around me. So I never needed to call people or get somebody in trouble or anything because people were pretty nice around my coworkers. I thought the place where I worked was good. Um, but then people at work started doing this, and a couple nurses started befriending me that I didn't out of the blue. And then one of them, another CNA told me that one nurse told a CNA, hey, go outside and follow him and report to me what he's doing. And I just went out for a cigarette like I normally did. And somebody told me about that. And it's like, oh, somebody is literally trying to get dirt on me. And for whatever reason, I didn't know. And then this the weird voices, not like voice in my head at that time, it was the V2K voice to skull. Um, it was literally through the walls. And I didn't know there was such a thing as a program like that. So, as far as Bridget, it's worth looking into. It's worth looking in listening to Ella Free, targeted in Massachusetts. If you notice, I mean, people can act weird or you can have a weird day. But if you notice, if you're, 20, 30, 40, whatever, and if you know a bunch of people, or a pretty good amount things are just different. And it's not psychosomatic. People are acting differently towards you and more in a negative way. And then you're getting physical pains or A lot of it is psychological. They're trying to create psychological stress, but some of it is also physical pain too. So anyway, just do your research and see if it does come up. Somehow, like being in a Murphy's law, where everything that can go wrong, there cannot be so many. Yeah. Murphy's. It's definitely a Murphy's law situation. The weird thing is, it's not like somebody's going a block away and taking a rifle and shooting you. It's these are all things. Every one of them are things that can be plausible deniability, and that's why it's hard to catch them if you're a TI, because these are all things that can be attributed to just normal circumstances. If it's a big thing is cars, a bunch of cars messing with you, um, blinking their lights towards you, slowing down and slowly driving right next to you, or coming around the corner and almost hitting you, um, but slowing down, putting their lights on, um, just random things but they're happening a lot. They're trying to make you sensitive to this behavior. But also when you describe it to anybody, um, say a police officer, a psychologist, somebody, a professional, especially, they can just say, well, that person's nuts. It just sounds like mundane, everyday, weird stuff that it happens to everybody. But if it happens 15 times within 3 days, um, then this is a behavior that they're targeting you and using these weird little nuanced things. Or people wearing the same color shirt with the same A&W root beer or something, or, wearing um, Fred Flintstone, and suddenly 5 more people wear the same Fred Flintstone or mention Fred Flintstone or something. And then somebody's fucking with you, but if you describe it, then it makes you sound nutty. And so that's one of the things they do. You're being screwed with, but you don't know why, and you don't know what for. And you wonder, like, did I piss somebody off? In my own case, I knew I didn't. I knew I didn't piss anybody off. Oh, that's a little. That's too bright, or what? That's better. I knew I didn't, but I thought, well, maybe it's because I had a movie that I watched called Breach. It's about Robert Hansen, and so I was typing it in. And I was looking for things about Breach, and I literally thought, well, maybe it's because I typed in the movie Breach, and I was in the hospital recuperating, trying to relearn how to walk again, and I thought, well, maybe by typing the word breach, maybe it freaked out somebody thinking that a security breach had happened. I mean, when all this weird shit's happening, you're trying to make sense out of it. Why are the people acting so weird? And that was the only thing I could think of, is maybe I typed in the movie Breach, and maybe somebody that saw that as an SOS or help for, so security, computer, breach of security or something. And it was just one of my favorite movies about the Robert Hansen true life case about the guy in the FBI that was working with the Russians, and it took him 20 years to find out who it was. And it was the very person, the head of the Russian group, that they put in charge to find the mole. And after 20 years, they realized he was the mole. That's what the movie is about. Anyway, it's like, well, why is somebody messing with me? It's like, maybe I typed in breach and they thought it was, when you haven't done anything, you're trying to make sense of it. And there is no sense. It's just you're being used as a human guinea pig, medical experimentation. And that's really what it's all about. Boy, it is kind of dark in here, isn't it? And you're just being used as a guinea pig. And maybe that'll help. Yeah, it's a little better. Shoot. Being used as a guinea pig, and you haven't done anything. But even if you have done something in your deep past, the truth of the matter is you probably would have gotten anyway, because there's a lot of people who've done absolutely nothing, and we're still getting screwed with. So you probably would have been screwed with too. We don't know what the criteria is for why people are mischief. It's just a random selection of people to test out military um, technology. And it's, then it doesn't matter. You could be Mother Teresa, or you could be Attila the Hun. And if they're trying to mess with you for research purposes, then nothing you say or do is going to matter. It's just going to be used for some doctor probably put you on for human research, or a government person put you on for human research. And now your mind is spinning trying to think who and why. And there isn't a who and why. It's just somebody's fucking with you because they got a bunch of money. If you go along with this program, you and your town or your hospital will get a bunch of money. We don't again know how much money, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, we don't know, to be tortured for decades of your life. And if for my case, when you're raised religious, you're thinking, well, the people in my town, which is predominantly a small religious town, they wouldn't do that. They're good people. They wouldn't do something so obviously evil. It's a pro life, religious, conservative, family values town. And if they did this and it got out, it would ruin their reputation. Well, guess what? Fuck, it happened anyway. These are the people that would be more mad at me saying the F word, evidently, and say, see, the person said the F word, than the fact that they're actually torturing somebody trying to get them to commit suicide. That is how um, you think you know human behavior. And this is a type of behavior and cruelty and torture that if anybody else had done it, I mean, it's not like a drunk driver does something stupid and gets drunk and murders somebody accidentally by having their car slamming. This is something they wake up the next day and feel like shit, and wish they never did it and want to make amends. The TI program is literally people from the government waking up. They wake up every day literally trying to torture you, and that's the end goal, is try to get your life destroyed and to get you off, and they get money, points, whatever. They're told to get you out of this world, to torture you, and to get medical research on what works on torturing you. Is it psychological? Is it physical pain? Is it this and that? So, oh, I'm sorry guys, I didn't listen for a while. um People talking about thing in my life that they could not. Yeah, that's a big one. Hey Tanya, I didn't see. I was yapping a little bit about this program. That was, I don't know if you guys know that, but Brigitte, you're right. That's a big part of it. And Tanya, I don't know. Hi Ellen, how was your day? Hi everyone. I really enjoyed talking last night, and I thought I'm moving within the next 3 weeks, so I'm wondering if my new handlers are going to somehow get in there. So I don't know how they're going to get around that one. So lifetime, yes. For me, this started happening when I was about 15, something like that. So same here, Alan. They have murdered, but they don't like F. And yeah, they are horrible. Brenda brings up a part. People talking about things in my life that they could not know, and I've gone through that. They'll be outside, and even at the White House when the TIs were talking about this, you could see it on James Lyko on YouTube, um, where people will talk about. I think Nicole or Niger Nicholson. No, what's his name? He was good. Nicholson. He was anyway. I'm thinking, but he was another TI. He was a great guy, and he was talking about people who just they know stuff and start talking about your life, even though there's no way in the world that they could know it. But it's almost like somehow they could have been relayed what you're thinking, or relay something about your life that only you and some select other people know about. So, um, I was 5 years old now. Now I'm 55. Yeah, so it's like I just turned 49 a few months ago, and yeah, this is a program they do for um, years, decades. And now I don't know. There's some people that a good one that if you want to do research on the medical or technological stuff, um, there's a TI with the name or goes by SH and then space P, and she does a lot of help for people if you want to do the technological, try to track down who's tracking you, and the government part, like which ones. That's worth looking into. Look up capital S and then small h and then space and then P, and that'll help people get more tech savvy on how to find who's doing it, what groups are part of it, and it might help them. So and Bridge says, I am not suffering as hard as you. If you ever hear this two voice all the time, this is horrible. I do. Um, but it's I do. It's just, and normally it's always a negative thing. Um, but I'm so used to it now. I'm not lonely because they're always talking or yapping and this and that. It's like, but they're bored half the time and just like, I can hear them. Like, can you believe this guy? But they do. They torture me. They'd send the zaps. They tell me to go to hell or die and the whole bit. But I'm so used to it. Um, I can even. I mean, it's constantly wherever you go. They're always torturing this. Once in a while, I can even say a joke. You know, but it's because it's there 24/7. It's like if you're in jail and there's a guard there, and they're always gonna be there, and 24/7, especially while you're awake, but even when you're sleeping. So it's kind of like every conversation you say, sometimes they'll repeat back, sometimes they won't. So it just depends. Yeah, she is very smart. Yes. Are you talking about your handler, Tanya? Yeah, it's always have two handlers. It's always a guy and a gal, but obviously it's not going to be the same. They probably have 6 or 7 or 8 people that have shifts. And SHP, yes, she is very smart, and I think she's Canadian. But if you want to understand how to trace your tracking to the right corporation or school, and that's what a lot of it is. It's colleges doing research on government grants, military grants, government grants, um, and then they use, I don't know if they use students or what, or police or contractors. A lot of it's just independent contractors, maybe that used to be police. But if you want to look into the technological part, look up SHP space P and SH space P, and she's really good at helping people um, track that stuff down, the technological stuff, because that'll be very helpful. So, um, but the weird thing is that I've heard somebody explain this to me, and it's, or at least online, and in the TI community, we don't know if there's like an implant or if there's um, like as a receiver that they wirelessly, like a phone or a chip that's implanted in the brain or in our body somehow that acts like a receiver, and then we get these pain signals that a sharp, and then we can hear the V2K. I personally do think um, that it is an actual implant, and they do a lot of this non-implant talk so that people won't look for it. If they don't think there's one, they're not going to look for one. So whether in a coffin or in their skin, they're not going to try to find something if they don't think there's something to find in the first place. But at the same time, technology has gone so fast and so far. Maybe there isn't one. I really don't. I don't know. There's so many life beams ahead of us in technology. Um, but it's just, you know, I actually do think it's an implant or implants, whether through wiring, something that can capture a wireless signal and direct it somehow into different parts of the brain in your body that can create buzzing how they can take the DNA from you and then know where to put it in what parts of the body, the liver, the kidney, the heart, the brain, the heels. I mean, of all things, that part of the leg. Um, I'm not a tech Joe, but if they don't, if they don't find an implant, I mean, we still know what's happening to us. We know it. So it just means that they're more advanced in their technology than what we know. So the fact that things can be patented, um, and not being real. I was just looking at something called Theranos. Now, Theranos was something that was going to change the world. It was a huge scandal in California of this lady who was very charismatic. Um, I think her name was Holmes, and she was going to revolutionize technology and medical diagnostics by you giving a small little thing of blood and putting it in this little computer. They would be able to, within a few minutes, put it in this little computer, be able to diagnose what you have, and maybe even give you some of the medication right then and there. I could be getting part of it wrong. The only thing is, she had a patent for this technology. She got $9 billion, billion, and it went on for years. Walgreens, I believe it was Walgreens, Safeway was going to open up a part of their stores to have her operate, or her, you know, that operate like a little doctor's office or something. I think Walgreens was, but I know Safeway was. The thing is, she had a patent, and she kept on getting billions of more dollars every few years, getting more money. It ended up being $9 billion, and on her board was some of the most brightest, genius people in government and in military. The thing is, it went on for so long, years of this. She had a patent for it, and people bought it. The only thing is, the technology didn't work. She never could admit it. She kept on believing it, getting other people to believe in it, got more money, billions, had a patent for it, wrote a picture, what it looks like, and describing it. The thing is, she got a patent for it, but it didn't work. So the fact that people can get a patent for something and describe it, have a number attached to it, and then having it not really work in the way they imagine it, it does happen. And how many times do the thing with being it with TIs, especially with synthetic telepathy, and that's a weird part where they can actually know your thoughts and read it, is that if you're like James Wahlberg or other brilliant people who are inventors, it literally means potentially stopping any invention from new people. A new brilliant person can do this to somebody else who's an inventor and steal their ideas before another inventor can bring it to a patent office. They can steal the idea before that person, after years of work and research, can even bring it to a patent office. Somebody can use this synthetic telepathy and steal their ideas. And so that 1% stays that 1%. And it does no more new people getting into it, because all those ideas can be stolen. So let's see. I'm not suffering as hard as you, but if you're, yes, that's, remember that. And Tanya, it's like they are so sick doing this. They are sick. I mean, the majority of us, if you have some kind of basic, I mean, 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, you have to learn, you'll learn to be nice, and you'll learn because you'll like it. You don't want to be shit on by other people. And this is our own government using us, in like the Spanish Inquisition, using technology as a form of shock and awe. Um, but now it's everyday torture. And for us having to deal with this every day, it's aw shucks. I mean, it's shock and awe with the technology. But for those of us who have to live through it, and our loved ones seeing the manifestations of what we have to go through, it's aw shucks. When's the government gonna do something? When is They already know it's out in the open. I mean, a lot of people don't, don't know about it, but our governments do. I mean, and see through the eyes. That's right. They can read our thoughts, synthetic telepathy. They can hear what we hear because our brain, on their, my only guess, I don't know how you guys think, Tanya and Birgit, it's, they have a computer screen, and whatever we hear, whatever we see, whatever our senses, even our smell, it puts a picture into our mind of a, and it shows up on their screen. We don't even have to say what we're thinking about, and it puts a picture in our own mind, and they can read it. They're so far advanced in whatever the technology. It's not like upper GI or scanning or brain scanning. It's so far advanced. They were talking about it on 60 Minutes. And Leslie Stahl was saying, well, are they on their way to reading minds? And the guy's like, yeah, I mean, maybe in years. It's like, no, they already do it. They've been able to do it for a long time, but they're trying to use it as a torture device and to see what they can do first, good or bad, before the rest of the world um, finds out about it. The only thing is, when you experience it, we know um, that it's been going on. It's like Tanya says, I'm sick of all these murders. Um, you're sick of this torture and you want people, and you're thankful for the other podcasts, um, Wayne and Kyle and Ella Free targeted in Massachusetts, Ramola, um, Nex, Karen Horton, just a bunch of people in Minnesota. Um, you really want the government to finally get off their ass, and unless they're just going to try to go as far as they can, but it's already out in the open. Um, there's enough podcasts to where they're just going to keep, you know, I just hope they realize how bad this is. And of course they do realize it. Um, but there's not much of a coming back if those sheriffs start, you know, they just need to pay the people, um, admit what they did, and pay the people, and then help them get their lives back. They've got trillions of dollars still, and to be able to help the people they've tortured. The idea of waiting 70 years and then making it declassified, those days are over. We have the internet, we can talk to each other now. So we know what's going on. And the idea of waiting 50 or 70 years for it to be declassified, um, it's already going to be so well known. You know what I mean? So our life is their life. Let's see. That's right. Our lifetime is like our life is their life later on. Later on, perps. Same thing will happen to them. Yes. Yeah. Those perps that are being part of it, the same government's doing it, can blackmail those perps. Uh, and if they're, it doesn't matter, liberal, conservative, religious, humanist, um, the same government that's paying them to do it can blackmail them for doing it. It's like the whole government's gonna, you know, what kind of people are you in this small town if you'll torture people for a paycheck? You'll torture your own citizens for a paycheck. People have never hurt anybody. And so, yeah, they can use this against you. And so it's better for people just to come out and say, we did something we shouldn't have. Our government gave us, years ago, a bunch of money. And we don't want this to affect any more people or our grandchildren. And then somebody step up and admit to doing it. And then so that it won't affect their kids and their grandkids in the near future. Um, and Bridget's like, I believe that there is something. Let's see, I believe that there is something bad. There must be a good as a counterbalance, kind of a yin yang thing. Um, that could be. I spent years and quite many beers studying the problem of evil, and had to write my own what they call a theodicy. That makes a lot of people drink. Why do bad things happen to good people? That normal thing. of theology, but there could be. Maybe there is something that will balance things out. Whether hopefully in our own life here and now or in the next, but that's too complicated of a subject right now to go in theodicy. But yeah, I kind of believe that too, or would like to believe in it. And so sometimes it makes you scratch your head. And I would love to have a few shots of whiskey whenever I used to think about it, which I used to do, and a couple shots of whiskey. But so Tanya's like, yeah, with your dad. And a lot of TIs are not here anymore. What have they done? What they have done to all TIs around the world. Um, yeah, that's one of those. Um, how are you going to apologize? How is our government going to apologize to them and their families? It's like our own government, um, and not necessarily just the presidents, but the head of states, governments, and governors, and all that become their own little Ted Bundy. They can allow people to be tortured like any worse serial killer or Charles Manson. Because, like, Charles Manson himself never, I don't know if he ever murdered anybody. He just told other people to do it. He commanded them to do it, gave them orders. And I don't know if he himself actually murdered anybody, but he told his followers, he told people to do it. And they got rewarded with drugs or who knows what. And that's kind of like our government. It's pretty bad when you have to compare your government with Charles Manson. But torturing people to where they where they give up, um, that's going to be a hard thing for, to apologize for. But they need to start apologizing and changing it. Because once this gets out, whatever George Floyd stuff that's people are protesting right now, um, that was for one person and for all the racist stuff that's happened throughout centuries. I won't go into that whole, but if they find out that what you're doing to everyday innocent people, that kind of torture, then there will be marches on the street. And it's already getting out, so it's better to apologize and get in front of this thing. It just is. So, government, if you are just, you need to get in front of this and soften it somehow and just make laws to ban it. That's the best idea. Um, that's the thing. TIs around the world, so I hope it will, though. I hope they will. I hope they'll listen. I hope the pressure will get to them, and the doctors will quit doing this to people. I know people have, people who try to balance the budget for their states, their cities, their towns, when that temptation of getting a quick few $1,000,000 from the government, all you have to do is torture innocent people, citizens that you probably don't know the name of. Don't do it, because this will come back to bite you in the ass. People will find out about it. And whenever you do speeches about family values, pro life, this, if they go along with this and realize they're part of a torture suicide program, that's not going to fit in with the pro life stuff. That's not going to fit in with the family values. And it's just going to be a bad day for you. And knowing that you have to live with this, that you're being part of this, trust me, you're going to wish you didn't. So, and it's like you're saying, Tanya, it is heartbreaking they did this. As a kid, you just think that they wouldn't do something. Your own government in the past might have done evil things, but you just don't think they would do it now. But as we know, we're part of it. So, yeah, the police and their families are making all the money. Police, city hall, doctors, like these people already make better paychecks than most of us making, um, it just makes you scratch your head and why. Um, because then the rest of the town has to go along with it to protect the reputation of the couple people that decided to invoke and involve one or two of their citizens, and the rest of the town's reputation pays a price for being part of this. Um, it's kind of like there's that movie with Angelina Jolie. It was called The Changeling. And it was a true story about a lady who lost her child. Her child was missing, and then the police in this town in California, they found a kid, and the pressure was building on them to find the kid, find her son. And so they brought in a fake child from like an orphanage. Well, I mean, it was a real child, obviously, but it wasn't her child. And they were trying to tell everyone this is her real child, and trying to shut the pressure down. And she was coming back saying, no, this is not my child. It's a great kid, but not my child. And they kept on telling her to shut up and this and that. The thing is, unbeknownst to them at the time, there was a serial killer taking people and kids and murdering them. And the police were so focused on trying to cover that up that they were ignoring all these other. So this was a true story, and Jolina starred as the mother, but it's a true story. And when it came out that the person that did this was a serial killer, um, and that they literally did, it was, the kid ended up. The remains were found, and that's how it got broke. That it was actually a serial killer. Anyway, the name of the town became so ashamed and embarrassed that they ended up changing the name of the entire town because they wanted to put it behind them, that they were a part of it. So they changed the whole name of the town. Um, and I think when this TI program starts getting well known, a lot of towns are going to want to do that. They're going to want to, you know, change their name or change their identity, that they would have gone and been a part of something. So torture. I mean, torture, you know, not having a bad day, not drunk driving where you do something, get drunk and do something stupid. Literally paying people, going along with paying people to get up, and their whole day is V2K and sending shockwaves, painful shockwaves, and torturing people, and then texting other people and phone calling them to, okay, no, slowly take your car and drive slowly and try to intimidate that person, put pressure. I mean, that's what they're doing, is paying people to mess with some innocent person, hopefully to get rid of that person permanently. So yeah, I forget if the film was The Changeling, but you can probably on Netflix or something, but based on a true story. So, and I just hope that I'm really thankful that they have quite a few TI podcasts, and it is very difficult. I remember Dr. Matt was saying that everybody tries to have a theory about what's going on, and we try to put two and two together. Um, One thing that he was helpful is that he was talking about drywall, where they actually, in some places, they will buy a building and put this type of technology, little things in the drywall to help use for the radiation. And that could have happened to me because I had a girlfriend that I'd dated for about 9 months, a year. And then I moved out I moved, and I sometimes stayed with her in her apartment, but then I broke up with her and I started seeing somebody new. And it was weird because she ended up moving in a new place, and it ended up being the exact same apartment, not apartment complex, this exact same apartment as what my previous girlfriend was. So I could only imagine what the neighbors thought. Literally, I'm the same guy with one lady, and then she moves out after I move, and then come back. And I started dating this one gal, and a few months later, after that one gal moved, I was dating. Then my new girlfriend moves into the very same apartment that she was moving in, that she was living in, and I lived with her for a bit. same apartment building itself, the same actual numbered apartment. And it made me think about the drywall. Maybe that was, you know, maybe the drywall or whatever, it was souped up for their technology. I just don't know. It's not like they're emitting anything. So the only thing I know is I got the V2K, and I can hear them right now, and I have those jolts that happen. So, hey, I've always wondered, like, I wish I could find a lot of these videos that some of the other TIs have. They can find all this great stuff about Robert Duncan, James Giordano. Um, and I always wonder where they find this stuff. They had Brock, and then Wayne would have their podcast, and then it's like they'd find a video, and I always wonder where to find all this cool stuff, because we need to, targeted Massachusetts, you can listen to their stuff, but, finding um, the tech stuff that answers and deals with the TI phenomena, or TI program, I should say. The weird thing is, I noticed that when you look at the MK Ultra, um, when you look at that stuff, a lot of the same schools, um, Pennsylvania, University of Penn or Penn State, I'm not sure which one, that one, Georgetown in the past, um, either had people that were, worked with it, or so it's just like, because they will start initiating programs, um, and they'll find professors that they'll pay these professors to do this and invite their students to partake of it. Um, and that used to be, I was reading somewhere, Penn State or University of Penn, I don't remember, and Georgetown um, was part of it. So I don't know if that's still going on, but well, I guess it's about 2 in the morning. So 2 in the morning here in Salem, Oregon. So just targeted individuals. That's what I need to. Yeah, I've heard people say that they have same houses set up before you move in. I've heard other people say that. And the place I lived, it was my niece's before I moved in two of the places. So that very well could be. My brother's daughter had the place before I moved in twice. So that really could be one place by the high school, right across from the railroad tracks, and the other one where I was a roommate with my brother Dale, and same thing. So, oh, love you too, Tanya. Thank you very much. Great chat. Much love, mate, and everyone. Thank you very much, Tanya. You're the best. Thank you, Birgit. I don't know if I pronounced your name, Birgit, right, but so thank you guys, and I hope you guys have a good day. It's going to be a big day. Tomorrow's Monday, and the big election stuff's Tuesday. So who knows what's going to happen in the next 3 days here in the United States? I don't know. So, all right, love you guys. You guys take care, and I'll see you in a couple days. And so, howdy. All right, I'll see you guys later. Okay. All right, bye, guys.